everyone, this is a video explanation of Assignment 1, Innovations in STEAM Education Report for TCHE2685. I'm going to read through the explanation and extend on some of the criteria that are listed in the rubric for you, so you've got a sense of what's kind of required and expected of this assignment. So if I read through the explanation, it says this task requires you to access prescribed text, policy and curriculum documents and other relevant resources and write a 1,000-word education report that summarises current approaches to STEAM. What's important about this is that STEAM here is used more commonly than STEM in early childhood. So STEAM here refers to science, technology, engineering, arts and maths. So it's really important that you access STEAM based resources rather than STEM. If you do read things about STEM, you need to adapt those, the ways in which you talk about those readings and resources to include the A acronym, because STEAM is used in the preschool settings more commonly, okay? So your report must specifically relate to birth to 5 years education. And your report needs to include the following sections. So when I say this, I expect to see these dot points as headings in your report, okay? Introduction to the topic, STEAM learning in birth to 5 years or early childhood education in Australia. The context, this is the research, policy and curriculum approaches to innovations in STEAM learning with young children. The third heading will be pedagogical context, that's young children's STEAM learning through play. And the final heading will be conclusion, the key aspects of young children's STEAM learning in Australia. So you should order your writing to those 4 headings, okay? And your report must reference a selection of the learning resources in this course, and you'll find those peppered through the Canvas pages, the workshop pages. You can go into any one of the workshop pages and look at the resources that are embedded there. And also the prescribed text, which you'll find in the links to the readings for this course, and recommended websites. So they're all the things that you can draw upon. You must use a formal writing style because it's a report, and include the required sections listed. Now I have embedded in this Canvas course site guidelines for writing a report, so you should find those and have a look at the kind of guidelines in and how to phrase things and how to order your writing. You can also go on the web and have a look at how to write a report for kind of guidance on the types of ways to write, okay? So and that will be very helpful for you, I think. So if I scroll down now, there is the underneath the window where you're looking at this video explanation, and the written description is the rubric. And in the rubric are the kind of criteria that you should be thinking about as you're writing your report. So the first one is engagement. And this is about demonstrating engagement with research, policy and curriculum documents to support ideas and opinions. So as I've just said, it's about wandering through the workshop pages within this course Canvas site and looking at the resources that are kind of at the bottom of each of the workshop pages, looking at the videos, looking at the web links, and there's enough in this course site in the various workshop pages for you to actually do this report quite effectively. So if you're worried about going and finding more stuff than is in this course, you don't need to do that to do well in this assignment. There are enough resources in this Canvas course site for you to actually do this assignment very well. There are a number of references that are allocated to certain grade ranges. So if you want to do the best in terms of the engagement criteria, have a look across those different ratings to see how many readings you need to include to score different scales of points. So for example, to get 5 points, you need to include between 7 and 9 references from the prescribed readings and other resources. Okay, so and the number goes down as you get fewer. You can make those 7 to 9 readings up from additional sources as well. The only thing with that though is they must be credible and they must be high level. So sometimes that's hard to judge, which is why I advise that you use the readings and resources that I have provided for you in this Canvas site, because I've gone through them and checked the quality of them. And I think they are good quality. So that's the only thing that you'll need to make sure if you're using other types of references that they are really good quality. So the next criteria is analysis, and this provides a clear analysis of supporting information and documentation in building a contextual summary of STEAM learning in birth to 5 years or early education in Australia. It's the ways in which that age range is named is either as early education or as birth to 5 years. That's why I've included the two terms. So an analysis is where you're kind of bringing an analytical reading to the resources and how you understand them. And you need to write from an analytical perspective in the report. So it's not just a simple retelling of the resources or just kind of summarizing the resources. You need to analyze them. So you need to kind of ask questions of the notion of STEAM learning as you're reading through those resources. So, kind of what's the approach here? What is the kind of underlying message of this piece of this piece of text? What is it there? What's the kind of story that they're trying to put across? So, the analysis is a kind of an analytical reading of the texts that you're accessing. So, for example, one analysis might be, is there a kind of, are all of these resources pushing gender norms, for example, or are these resources assuming children have access to technology? It's that kind of reading between the lines is the analytical reading of the resources that you're looking at. If you don't do that, then the report is a simple kind of literature review, and that's not quite the same thing as a report, okay? So the report is to kind of present an analytical overview of what is currently out there. And that's why analysis is the name of this criteria. And it's really important, as I said, that you use STEAM learning. And that's it means that you include all of those letters of the acronym. So you must kind of comment on each one of those letters rather than only one or two of the letters. So that means you need to include analysis of science, technology, education, the arts and maths, but as STEAM. Right, so it's we know that those kind of topics are standalone topics as well. But what you're looking at is how they form part of STEAM, how they are thought about in relation to each other in terms of STEAM learning. So it's not just doing a kind of look at science for science's sake, or the arts for art's sake, or maths for maths' sake. It's about how these things, these separate disciplines are building STEAM learning. And STEAM learning is an acronym that understands how these disciplines relate to each other, how they work in a kind of combined way, if you like, to bring about children's engagement with the contemporary world. All right, so rather than just looking at maths for maths sake or maths curriculum. It's about maths being part of STEAM, the arts being part of STEAM, and so on. Okay, so and you need to comment on STEAM, so anything that you pay attention to as a separate discipline, like if it's the science bit or the maths bit, um, that's less what that's not really what's being asked of here. So it's about how they all kind of combine together in STEAM learning. So that's the focus of your analysis, is on STEAM learning. Understanding STEAM is the next criteria. And it demonstrates, as I've just been saying, about not necessarily science or technology or engineering, arts, maths as separate things, but how they work together in that acronym as STEAM, how they coordinate. So, you know, how they become this combined thing of STEAM. So you're showing your understanding of the acronym rather than the separate aspects of each of those disciplines in this next part. So it demonstrates an understanding of STEAM learning pedagogies in birth to 5 years or in early years education. So again, you will only really get a sense of that once you start reading through the resources and look at the links and understand how these things are being dealt with by educators or people in the STEAM the STEAM area, if you like, or the STEAM kind of initiatives that are out there, or the STEAM kind of programs that are out there, how they understand pedagogies. Okay, so you need to kind of read through the resources, think about what you've seen on prac or in your own school learning or your children's school learning, and how particular pedagogies are actually enacted, not necessarily in maths alone, not necessarily in science alone, but how STEAM learning is dealt with pedagogically in those very early years. Okay, so don't separate the disciplines out, keep them together as STEAM. And then the next one is innovation. So when I ran this assignment before, some people just kind of told stuff that was that had been going on for quite a long time. They didn't, some of the reports I've seen in the past didn't understand the notion of innovation. So innovation is about perhaps rethinking what has been done habitually or historically, and what are the new ways in which STEAM learning is taking place in these very early years that are kind of really embracing new processes, new ideas, new pedagogies, new materials, new technologies to bring about STEAM learning. So what new kind of innovations and ideas are being experimented with in this space? So, you know, for example, one of a recent one, and it's fine if you want to draw on this in your own report, is the idea of robotics. Okay, so robotics is a fairly recent thing that's in the prior to school settings. It's obviously quite familiar in school settings and obviously out in the professional world. But robotics is a very recent thing that's come into the before school space. So that would be one example of innovation, and how STEAM is being learned about through robotics, for example. So you want to think along those lines for innovation. It's the kind of the ways in which STEAM is being delivered and the innovative ways in which that is happening. Okay, so it's not about things that have been going on for a long time. It's not that it's not good, but what I want to know is that you're looking kind of over the hill in the future about what the next 10 years of education might be looking like for very young children, not what's already going on and happened in the past. Okay, so that's what innovation relates to. The report, as I mentioned before, look at the the genre of report writing. There are resources in this Canvas site that you can read about how to write a report. You can go on the web and find out about how to write a report. Okay, so it has a particular style of writing, and that's what I want you to use, because it is a report. Okay, so please be very careful about your quality of writing. We also have Turnitin as a screening device, so be clear about how you're using quotation marks, how you're talking about the resources that you've accessed, and that you're not paraphrasing and just kind of copying and pasting. Be very careful about that. Try and make it very obvious that you are using the work of other people through things like quotation marks, okay? And then your scholarship also relates to that, which is about referencing and citation practices, all right? So spelling and grammar, citation, and referencing, they're all kind of mixed in, but they are under two separate criteria in this assignment. So I think that hopefully explains things, I hope that you enjoy reading through the resources and looking for evidence of STEAM learning, and the idea of what might be coming next for early years education in this space.